They said it was for freedom, but in the shadows, it was for power. In this video, you're going to see how the CIA, America's spy agency, overthrew 3 leaders in 3 different countries. These leaders weren't planning to invade us. They weren't aiming missiles at us. They were leading their own nations until the US decided they had to go. We'll cover how oil, fruit, and fear of communism drove these coups, the tricks, lies, and secret armies used, and the chaos these coups left behind. Chaos that still shapes our world today. Stay until the end because each story gets darker. And by the last one, you'll see how far America would go to remove a man they couldn't control. Part 1. Iran, 1953. Operation Ajax. Imagine waking up to find your streets filled with angry mobs. You turn on the radio, and it says your leader has fled. You don't know yet, but the chaos was bought and paid for by another country. Elias in 1951, Iran's Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh did something bold. He took control of Iran's oil from a British company. That company, the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, had been making huge profits while Iran stayed poor. Mossadegh said enough. The oil was Iran's. Britain was furious. But they couldn't get their oil back alone, so they went to the United States. The Cold War was in full swing, and America was obsessed with stopping anything that looked like communism. Even though Mossadegh wasn't a communist, the CIA decided he might be too friendly with the Soviet Union. That was enough. The plan was called Operation Ajax. CIA agents slipped into Tehran with suitcases of cash. They paid newspapers to print fake stories calling Mossadegh corrupt. They bribed politicians to turn against him. They hired street thugs to start riots, smashing windows and attacking bystanders, all to make the city feel unstable. On August 19, 1953, the streets exploded with violence. Soldiers loyal to the Shah, Iran's king, stormed Mossadegh's home. Gunfire cracked through the air. The prime minister was arrested. The Shah returned to rule with an iron grip. For 26 years, he ruled with the help of a brutal secret police force, torturing and killing opponents. In 1979, the anger boiled over into a revolution that replaced the Shah with a hardline Islamic government, the one still in power today. One coup, one country, changed forever, and the trust between America and Iran was shattered. Part 2, Guatemala, 1954, Project PBS success. Sometimes a war starts not over bombs or borders, but bananas. In the early 1950s, Guatemala was led by President Jacobo Arbenz. He wasn't a dictator. He'd been elected in a fair vote. His big goal? Land reform. Much of Guatemala's land was owned by a few rich families and one giant American company, the United Fruit Company. United Fruit wasn't just any company, it was tied deep into U.S. politics. Several top U.S. officials had personal connections to it. Arbenz's plan was simple: buy unused land from these big landowners and give it to poor farmers. He even offered to pay United Fruit for the land, but at the low value the company had listed for tax purposes. United Fruit was outraged. They lobbied Washington, saying Arbenz was turning communist. This was the Cold War, and that word was like a trigger. The CIA launched Project PB Success. The agency trained a small rebel army in Honduras. At the same time, they flooded Guatemalan radio with fake broadcasts claiming a massive rebellion was underway. Planes dropped leaflets warning of invasion. Nervous soldiers deserted. On June 27, 1954, Arbenz resigned. He left the presidential palace humiliated, still wearing his ceremonial sword. The U.S. installed Colonel Carlos Castillo Armas as leader. The coup plunged Guatemala into decades of civil war. Over 200,000 people were killed, many of them indigenous villagers accused of siding with leftist rebels. Torture, disappearances, and mass graves became part of daily life. All this for a company's bottom line. Part 3. Congo, 1960-1961. The fall of Patrice Lumumba. This is the story of a man who led his country to freedom, only to be hunted down by the very nations that spoke of liberty. The Congo, rich in minerals, had been a brutal Belgian colony for decades. In 1960, it finally gained independence. Patrice Lumumba became its first prime minister. He was young, charismatic, and determined to make the Congo truly free. But there was a problem: the Cold War. The US and the Soviet Union were locked in a global chess match. And when Congo faced a rebellion, Lumumba accepted help from the Soviets. In Washington, alarms went off. The CIA feared the Congo, with its uranium mines, could fall under Soviet influence. CIA Director Allen Dulles called Lumumba a danger to the world. Behind closed doors, the CIA began plotting. They supported Lumumba's rivals, spread lies about him, and even discussed assassination methods, including poisoned toothpaste. Belgian forces and Congolese rivals captured him. On January 17, 1961, Patrice Lumumba was executed in a remote clearing. His body was chopped up and dissolved in acid. The CIA has never fully admitted its role, but declassified documents show US officials knew about the plot and backed his enemies. The Congo fell into chaos, ruled for decades by dictator Mobutu Sese Seko, who looted the nation's wealth while the people sank deeper into poverty. One man's dream of freedom became another Cold War casualty. 3 coups, 3 nations, 3 leaders gone. In Iran, it was oil. In Guatemala, it was bananas. In the Congo, it was minerals. The reasons were dressed up as fighting communism or bringing stability, but in the shadows, it was about control. And here's the part that should make you pause. Every one of these coups created chaos that still shapes the world today.